It's already preparing. It's live streaming already. No. हो गया. Got it. No, just look at the cloud. Yeah, it's on there. Can you get change check? I'm going to send you the link. That's it. Well, let me call it.
دور ہے ہمارے سے تقریباً گھنٹہ دور ہے.
وہ دوسرا سینٹر آپ سے
شاہد وہ ہمارے گھر سے 10-12. ہاں وہی شاہد نجف میں شکاگو میں. وہ کون سے آئے تھے ڈائریکٹ شکاگو میں فائزی صاحب کے پاس 9 میں آئے تھے 6 or 7 میں آئے تھے تقریباً 15-16 سال شکاگو میں. اور اب وہ آگئی یہاں پر ورجینیا میں ڈاکٹر سراج صاحب کے والد شاہ نجف وہاں 2 سال. ہمیں بھی 2-3 سال ہو گئے. وہ نزدیک ہے سلیمان صاحب اور ہے مولانا ہمار وہ بھی بیٹھی. ایک اور ہے مولانا حسن 2 سال وہ بھی بیٹھی. نہیں سینٹر میں سے کوئی بھی سوائے سلیمان صاحب کے سینٹر. میں تو چونکہ یونیورسٹی کی وجہ سے میرا یہ سلسلہ ایسا مصروفیت کا چل پڑا ہے کہ زیادہ سفر ہی ہوتا ہے. تو ذرا کسی کو پسند گھر بھی نہیں لیا تو والد کے ساتھ رہے نماز جمعہ ریزیڈنٹ آدمی لیکن یونیورسٹی وغیرہ میں نہیں. اور حوضہ جو انہوں نے شروع کیا تھا شکاگو وہ بھی بند ہے. ہاں فی
یہی کہا کہ سامنے ہمارے پر اثر ہوتا ہے. یہ کہاں سے چیک کریں گے آگے؟
مسئلہ ہمارے سب سے بڑا پرابلم یہ ہوا کہ تھیوریٹیکل ایسپیکٹ جو ہے وہ اتنا مضبوط ہو گیا ہے اور اس کو یعنی آپ کو حیرت یہ ہے کہ یونیورسٹی میں تو بڑا اکیڈیمیا سے واپس آ رہا ہوں اخلاق اسلامی پڑھانے والے یہودی اسلامی اخلاق کہ ہاں انہوں نے ابن عربی بہت اچھی طرح پڑھی بعض نے امام خمینی کی کتابیں بہت اچھی لیکن ٹرمینالوجی وہ ایک سپرفیشل نالج ہے جبکہ صحیح معنوں میں اخلاق نفس کا تزکیہ ہے اس کی عملی صورت نہیں ہوتی وہ کسی فائدے کا نہیں میں تو بہت خوبصورت باتیں بھی صوفیہ کا یہ مسئلہ یعنی وہ اس طرف سے گرے ہیں نہیں دیکھی وہ زیادہ پریکٹیکل ایسپیکٹ میں جو سمجھ آئی اسی کو جانتے ہیں اب سے کرا نماز کی ضرورت نہیں بس اللہ کو کرنے ہیں تو سارا شریعت میں وہ ادھر سے گرے ہیں اور یہ ماڈرنسٹ جو ہے ادھر سے گرے تھیوری ہونی چاہیے پریکٹیکلٹی کی ضرورت نہیں ہے ہمیں پتہ ہونا چاہیے ٹرمس تو بہت آتی ہیں عرفان کیا ہے فلسفہ کیا ہے
مصطفیٰ یونیورسٹی میں کورسز شارٹ کورسز کرتے ہیں اب نا کوئی میم بھی کرتے ہیں نا پہلے
بلکہ یہ حدشان آگے واپس کوئی اب واپس جائیں گے مشکل نہیں مصطفیٰ یونیورسٹی کو کیا ہے
اس کی ایکچولی واپسی ہے فیملی کی اس کی چلی گئی ہے اب اس کی اپنی واپسی ہے تو مصطفیٰ یہ نام بھی جائے جی جی یہ اس کا ڈیٹیل سے بھی پتا ہے کہ کتنے اسکول ہیں ہوتے ہیں کس میں ہے
کیونکہ ایک اسکول جو میجر فارنرز کے لیے تھا نا
اچھا
اس کو بین کیا تو پھر یہ میں نے سنا تھا ایک طالب علم اور بھی ملے تھے باہر ساتھ انہوں نے بتایا کہ اب وہ ہمیں ٹرانسفر کر رہے ہیں صرف امیرکن اسٹوڈنٹس ایک لوکل اس کے تھوڑا سا پوچھ کے جائے توجہ کر کے جائے پھر واپس آ کے بہت سوال کرتے المصطفیٰ سے کیا 2-3-4 گھنٹے ضائع ہو جاتے
محمد علی محمد صلوات
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم عن جابر بن عبد الله الأنصاري عن فاطمة الزهراء عليها السلام بنت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله قال سمعت فاطمة أنها قالت دخل علي أبي رسول الله في بعض الأيام فقال السلام عليك يا فاطمة قلت عليك السلام قال إني أجد في بدني ضعفا فقلت له أعيذك بالله يا أبتاه من الضعف فقال يا فاطمة ائتني بالكساء اليماني فغطني به فأتيته بالكساء اليماني فغطيته به وصرت أنظر إليه وإذا وجهه يتلألأ وجهنا والبدر في ليلة تمامه وكماله
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسن قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك يا أمه فقلت عليك السلام يا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي فقال يا أمه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله فقلت نعم إن جدك تحت الكساء فأقبل الحسن نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جداه يا رسول الله أتأذن لي أن أدخل معك تحت الكساء؟ فقال وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا صاحب حوضي، قد أذنت لك. فدخل معه تحت الكساء. اللهم صل على محمد. فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولد الحسين قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك يا أماه. فقلت عليك السلام يا ولدي ويا قرة عين وثمرة فؤادي. فقال لي يا أماه إني يشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله. فقلت نعم إن جدك وأخاك تحت الكساء. فدنا الحسين نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جداه والسلام عليك يا من اختاره الله. أتأذنني أن أكون معكما تحت الكساء؟ فقال وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا شافع أمتي، قد أذنت لك. فدخل معهما تحت الكساء. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. فأقبل عند ذلك أبو الحسن علي بن أبي طالب قال السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله. فقلت عليك السلام يا أبا الحسن ويا أمير المؤمنين. فقال يا فاطمة إني يشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة أخي وابن عمي رسول الله. قلت نعم ها هو مع ولديك تحت الكساء. فأقبل علي نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله، أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ قال له وعليك السلام يا أخي ويا وصي وخليفتي وصاحب لوائي، قد أذنت لك. فدخل علي تحت الكساء. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. ثم أتيت نحو الكساء وقلت السلام عليك يا أبتاه يا رسول الله، أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ قال وعليك السلام يا بنتي ويا بضعتي، قد أذنت لك. فدخلت تحت الكساء. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. ولما اكتملنا جميعا تحت الكساء أخذ بي رسول الله بطرف الكساء وأومأ بيده اليمنى إلى السماء وقال اللهم إن هؤلاء أهل بيتي وخاصتي وحامتي، لحمهم لحمي ودمهم دمي، يؤلمني ما يؤلمهم ويحزنني ما يحزنهم. أنا حرب لمن حاربهم وسلم لمن سالمهم وعدو لمن عاداهم ومحب لمن أحبهم. إنهم مني وأنا منهم. واجعل صلواتك وبركاتك ورحمتك وغفرانك ورضوانك علي وعليهم وأذهب عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. وقال الله عز وجل يا ملائكتي ويا سكان سماواتي إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدحية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيا ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحر يجري ولا فلك يسري إلا في محبة هؤلاء الخمسة الذين هم تحت الكساء. فقال الأمين جبرائيل يا رب ومن تحت الكساء؟ فقال عز وجل هم أهل بيت النبوة ومعدن الرسالة، هم فاطمة وأبوها وبعلها وبنوها. اللهم صل على محمد. فقال جبرائيل يا رب أذنوا لي أن أهبط إلى الأرض ليكون معهم سادسا. فقال الله نعم قد أذنت لك. فهبط الأمين جبرائيل وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله. العلي الأعلى يقرئك السلام ويخصك بالتحية والإكرام ويقول لك وعزتي وجلالي إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدحية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيئا ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلك يسري إلا لأجلكم ومحبتكم، وقد أذن لي أن أدخل معكم فهل تأذنون يا رسول الله؟ فقال رسول الله وعليك السلام يا أمين وحي الله إنه نعم قد أذنت لك. فدخل جبرائيل معنا تحت الكساء فقال لأبي إن الله قد أوحى إليكم يقول إنما يريد الله أن يذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. اللهم صل على محمد. فقال علي لأبي يا رسول الله أخبرني ما لجلوسنا هذا تحت الكساء من الفضل عند الله. فقال النبي والذي بعثني بالحق من نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نبيا ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا إلا ونزلت عليهم الرحمة وحفت بهم الملائكة واستغفرت لهم إلى أن يتفرقوا. قال علي رضي الله فزنا وفاز شيعتنا ورب الكعبة. فقال النبي ثانيا يا علي والذي باعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نبيا ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا وفيهم مهموم إلا وفرج الله همه ولا مغموم إلا وكشف الله غمه ولا طالب حاجة إلا وقضى الله حاجة. وقال علي إذا والله فزنا وسعدنا وكذلك شيعتنا فازوا وسعدوا في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
محمد وآل محمد صلى الله
اللهم
صل على محمد وآل محمد.
ایک محفل مسالمہ ہوا تھا جس میں ایک راگی تھی مسئلہ بڑا خوبصورت تھا. محو حیرت ہے زمانہ حر کی قسمت دیکھ کر، حیرت ہے زمانہ حر کی قسمت دیکھ. اس پہ پریشان بابا سے بلند آ رہے سلامی مدحت شبیر عظمت دیکھ کر ہو سلامی مدحت شبیر عظمت دیکھ کر سلامی مدحت شبیر عظمت دیکھ کر ان کا رتبہ دیکھ کر اور ان کی رفعت دیکھ کر ہو سلامی مدحت شبیر عظمت دیکھ کر. اور دل میں میرے آل پیغمبر کی محبت دیکھ کر، دل میں میرے آل پیغمبر کی محبت دیکھ کر کرتا ہوں میں کرتا ہوں شکر خدا اس کی یہ نعمت دیکھ کر. او سلامی مدحت شبیر عظمت دیکھ کر. اور کربلا سے لوٹ کر آیا تو کچھ ایسا لگا، کربلا سے لوٹ کر آیا تو کچھ ایسا لگا. ارے آ گیا ہوں لوٹ کے جیسے میں جنت دیکھ کر، آ گیا ہوں لوٹ کے جیسے میں جنت دیکھ کر. او سلامی اور جام کو سر جب ملا اشک اشک کے بدلے مجھے جام کوثر جب ملا، اشک کے بدلے مجھے اہل فلک حیران ہوئے، آنسو کی قیمت دیکھ کر اہل فلک حیران ہوئے، آنسو کی قیمت دیکھ کر، او سلامی میرے اور فاطمہ زہرا یوں ہی فردوس میں داخل ہوئی، پورے حیران رہ گئی خاتون جنت دیکھ کر، پورے حیران رہ گئی خاتون جنت دیکھ کر، او سلام ار کر رہا ہے تو سوال بیعت بھلا کس سے لئی، کر رہا ہے تو سوال بیعت بھلا کس سے لئی، اور یہ حسین ابن علی ہے مانگ بیعت دیکھ کر، یہ حسین ابن علی ہے مانگ بیعت دیکھ کر، او سلامی بدعت شبیر عظمت دیکھ کر، اور کس طرح سے میں اٹھاؤں لاش کے ٹکڑے تیرے، اور کس طرح سے میں اٹھاؤں لاش کے ٹکڑے تیرے، اور دی صدا شبیر نے قاسم کی میت دیکھ کر، دی صدا شبیر نے قاسم کی میت دیکھ کر، او سلام اور گود میں جب چھت گیا ننا گلا بے شیر کا، رونے لگے ارض و سما شے کی وہ غربت دیکھ کر، او سلامی میری اور جب اٹھے دفنا کے شاہ لاشے بے شیر کو، پھٹ گیا بانوں کا دل ننھی سی تربت دیکھ کر، او سلامی اور دیکھ کر بازار میں اہل حرم کو بے ردا، ہر خلد میں روئے پیمبر حال عطرت دیکھ کر، خلد میں روئے پیمبر حال عطرت دیکھ کر، او سلامی زخمی جبیں پر دیکھ کر رومال زہرا بدی، زخمی جبیں پر دیکھ کر رومال زہرا بدی، محو حیرت ہے زمانہ حر کی قسمت دیکھ کر، محو حیرت ہے زمانہ حر کی قسمت دیکھ کر، او سلامی مدحت ابی مت دیکھ کر، ان کا رتبہ دیکھ کر اور ان کی رفعت دیکھ کر، او سلامی مدحت
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
جس دم حسن کا زہر سے ٹکڑے جگر ہوا، سپارہ دل کا سے زیر و زبر ہوا، ہر سمتا جو روح پاک پر ظاہر اثر، ہر حال اس امام پاک کا اس دم دیگر ہوا، حال اس امام پاک کا اس دم دیگر ہوا، راحت میں فرق اور شکم میں خلل پڑا، کٹ کر کلیجہ تشت کے اندر نکل پڑا، کٹ کر کلیجہ تشت کے اندر نکل پڑا، اور بستر پہ درد دل سے تڑپنے لگے، اور صدمے سے سبز ہونے لگا روئے سرخ، ہر چلائے ہاتھ سے یہ کلیجے کو تھامتا، ہر دوڑو بہن کے کام ہمارا ہوا، ہر دوڑو بہن کے کام ہمارا ہوا، یہ کہتے کہتے زرد رخ پاک ہو گیا، ہر چلاتے تھے کہ ہائے جگر چاک ہو گیا، چلاتے تھے کہ ہائے جگر چاک ہو گیا، اور دوڑی جناب زینب بے کس برہنہ، ارے دیکھا کہ لوٹتے ہیں بچھونے پہ مصطفیٰ، ارے بولی یہ سر کو پیٹ کے غم کی موت، ارے ہے بہن نثار ہو بھائی یہ کیا ہوا، ہے بہن نثار ہو بھائی یہ کیا ہوا، ارے کیا پھر کسی نے زہر دغا سے پلا دیا، اور کس نے میرے کلیجے پہ خنجر چلا دیا، کس نے میرے کلیجے پہ خنجر چلا دیا، اور زینب نے جلد لا کے رکھا سامنے لگا، ارے ہاتھوں سے دل پکڑ کے جھکے سرورے زمان، ارے آئی جو خیر تو کانے جواہر بنا، الماس کھا کے لال اگلنے لگے، الماس کھا کے لال اگلنے لگے، ارے رنگ زمرودی کا اثر عیاں ہوا، ارے معراج کی حدیث کا مطلب بیان ہوا، معراج کی حدیث کا مطلب بیان ہوا، اور فرماتے تھے حسن کے بلاؤ حسین، ارے تھا دم بدم یہ حکم کے لاؤ حسین، ارے بھائی کا حال زار سناؤ حسین، ٹکڑے میرے جگر کے دکھاؤ حسین کو، ٹکڑے میرے جگر کے دکھاؤ حسین، اور کہہ دو کہ جلد آئیے رحلت کا وقت ہے، ارے سن جائیے کچھ آکے وصیت کا وقت ہے سن جائیے کچھ آکے وصیت کا وقت ہے آئے حسین اتنے میں با چشم اشک ارے چلاتے تھے کہ آپ کی غربت کے میں ارے شب پر گلے کو چوم کے کہتے تھے بار ارے میں تم پہ سکتے ہیں میرے نانا کے یاد میں تم پہ سکتے ہیں میرے نانا کے یاد ارے مجھ سے زیادہ ظلم و ستم تم پہ ہوئیں گے ہم قبر میں تمہاری مصیبت پہ روئیں گے ہم قبر میں تمہاری مصیبت پہ روئیں گے ارے بھیا تمہاری گود میں نکلے گا میرا ارے تم دو گے ہم کو غسلوں کا جب مریں گے ارے ہوگا تمہارے پاس نہ کوئی بجز قاتل سے رانے ہوئے گا یا خنجر ستا ارے شبر تو بعد مرگ بھی راحت سے سوئے گا ارے لاشا تمہارا گھوڑوں سے پامال ہوئے گا لاشا تمہارا گھوڑوں سے پامال ہوئے گا ارے درد جگر سے غش ہوئے شاہ پر جنا ارے غمگین تو تھے حسین ہوا اور ارے حاضر تھی روح احمد و زہرا و بودرا وآسماں پہ ہو گئے باغ چنا کے ارے سر پیٹو مومنوں کے قضا کر گئے حسن ہر بن بھائی کے حسین ہوئے مر گئے بن بھائی کے حسین ہوئے مر گئے حسن جس دم حسن کا زہر سے ٹکڑے جگر ہوا
صلی اللہ
Assalamu alaikum.
وعلیکم السلام.
Just a quick announcement for Maulana's speech, inshallah. As you all know, tonight, today is the last Majlis for Maulana Muslim Mehdi Chawla. We thank him for coming here from Maryland and joining us for these programs. Inshallah, we hope to see him soon. Good news is that he is already coming here for the month of Ramadan with us. So inshallah, we're more than happy to have him here, inshallah. We're just finalizing the dates, inshallah. So, with that, the announcement for next weekend program. As you all know, next weekend is the last program for this season. Starting Saturday, no Friday Majlis here. Saturday, the first Majlis. Saturday night with Salat al-Maghrib. Saturday afternoon at 1 p.m. with Salat al-Zuhr. And then Sunday, same thing at 1 p.m. And then Monday night is the last Majlis of the Shahahadath of our 11th Imam. And that'll be Monday night at 7 p.m. sharp, inshallah, with Namaz Maghrib, inshallah. So Saturday, Sunday afternoon at 1, and Sunday is 7 p.m.
No, Monday night.
Sorry, Monday night will be at 7 p.m. Thank you. Monday night at 7 p.m. Shahadath of our 11th Imam. Inshallah, Maulana Mehdi Muhammadpur will be joining us also from Maryland area. Alhamdulillah, he's an excellent speaker. Inshallah, please join us for those majalises. Saturday afternoon Majlis is a special annual youth Majlis that we're doing every year. We'd like all of you to please participate with your families. Even if your kids are not participating, please join us to encourage our kids. And also the youth is sponsoring this Majlis entirely. and they are requesting anybody to contribute towards Majlis. Please feel free to contact Brother Hasim Ali here or Brother Hadi Raza. Inshallah, they'll be raising funds for that Majlis from any family who would like to contribute something toward that Majlis Saturday afternoon. With that, I'd like to request Maulana to come. The loud salawat. आगे brother. For Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
رحم الله من قرأ الفاتحة. بسم الله
الرحمن الرحيم.
إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لم يلد
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
ما شاء الله لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل. نعم المولى ونعم النصير. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله مالك الملك مجري الفلك مسخر الرياح فالق الإصباح ديان الدين رب العالمين. الحمد لله الذي لم يتخذ ولدا ولم يكن له شريك في الملك ولم يكن له ولي من الذل وكبره تكبيرا. ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على النبي الأمي المكي المدني سيدنا ومولانا ومولى الثقلين بالقاسم محمد. وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين الغر الميامين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. ولعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم من حين عداوتهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد فقد قال الله الحكيم في كتابه الكريم وقوله الحق. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر. آمنا بالله وصدق الله العلي العظيم.
اللهم صل على محمد.
Respected elders, my dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. First of all, I would like to offer my condolences to all of you, and our collective condolences are presented to the Imam of our time, the Sahib of this Majlis, in which we are commemorating the wafat of the Prophet of Islam, Mujtaba Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and the martyrdom of our second beloved holy Imam, Imam Hasan al-Mujtaba salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the intercession of the Prophet of Islam for us in this world and in hereafter, inshallah. Today being 28th of Safar, the exact day of the Shahahadath, it reminds us of these two personalities. And as you are aware that in the very first Majlis, we mentioned that we will begin with the Prophet of Islam, and then yesterday's Majlis was dedicated to Prophet's granddaughter. And today, inshallah, we'll try to shed some light on the life of our second Imam, and we'll try to seek some lessons, the practical aspects of his life which are related to us. In fact, every single aspect and dimension and word of every single Ma'soom is related to us. All we need to do is we need to relate. First, we need to know, and then we need to relate those words and those actions and the seerah they have lived, the life they have lived, and we need to bring that to our life in this day and age and to seek some heed and practical guidance, inshallah. So inshallah, in today's Majlis, inshallah, we'll try to analyze the life of our second holy Imam. And in fact, one Majlis is not sufficient to speak about even one dimension of this Imam, but I would like to list some of the dimensions and some of the aspects for us to study more and research more. In fact, regarding our second holy Imam, I usually say that our Imam Hasan al-Mujtaba salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi is among Imams who were oppressed by their opponents, the people of their times, and Imam al-Mujtaba is among the Imams who are oppressed by the people after him until this day and age. So we see that in one aspect that just last week, Arba'een, we had approximately 21 million or more Zawar visiting the shrine of Imam al-Hussein, and many of them visiting Najaf, shrine of Amir al-Mu'mineen, and Qadumain and Samarra, very similarly Mashhad. But our salams to be on Imam Hasan al-Mujtaba and the Aim of Baqi, that our graves, the graves of our ancestors, our relatives, they have visitors, they have some light, they have some shade. But this Mazloom Imam, until this day and age, there is no grave light, or there is no even tombstone, and even it's not permissible by the government, it's not allowed by them to freely visit the shrine of Imam al-Mujtaba. So this is one aspect of the Mazloomiyat of Imam al-Mujtaba, that how Mazloom he is and how Mazloom he was. Another dimension of his Mazloomiyat is the character assassination of this Imam, which was done during his time, after his martyrdom, and until this day. We see many historians and so-called Orientalists or Occident, they want to write about the Islamic history, that they would write about our second Imam in a way, they would try to humiliate him sometimes by putting some allegations, and many of the believers as well, not knowing the facts, sometimes they also become the prey of those people and think as the status of our second Imam was, God forbid, was lower than the other Imams, whereas we need to be mindful of that hadith of the Prophet. Very clearly, during his lifetime, he has mentioned that to clear the minds of the people. He says, Al-Hasanu wal-Husayn, imama qama aw qa'ada. So Al-Hasan and Imam Hussein, both, they are Imams. So when the Prophet says Imaman, he is saying they are having the equal status. Qama aw qa'ada. And then he explains it in further by saying that no matter they are sitting down or they are uprising. So one of the ways how the people would character assassinate Imam al-Mujtaba is by saying that as he did not having uprising. He did not have uprising against Muawiyah, so he made the peace treaty, he made the truce, as he did not have. It is difficult to use the word, but history mentions that even during his time, and it's really hard to know, and it is very upsetting to know that people, they would go in front of Imam and would tell him that you have disgraced us by making this peace treaty. And you can imagine that how hurtful it would be to the Prophet, to the son of the Prophet, grandson of the Prophet. So inshallah, in today's talk, I would like to mention a few dimensions in that regard and a few words by our Imam. So inshallah, we increase in our knowledge in terms of the biography and also in terms of the teachings of Imam al-Mujtaba. So very quickly, beginning with this point, which I just have mentioned, and keep in your mind that this peace treaty took place in the year 41st after Hijrah, because the martyrdom of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi happened in the year 40th after Hijrah, approximately 30 years after the demise of the Prophet. And we know that first three caliphs, they were having the reign of the government, or in other words, the leadership of Islam. And Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen was not given the chance, and for last 4.5 years, when he was given that chance, although he was not willing to accept at that time, but he saw that as a responsibility when it was put on his shoulders. He tried, and he did rule in the best of the ways, and despite that, during those 4.5 years, there were battles imposed on him. Jing Jamal, all know about Siffin and Naharawan. These were three main battles that Amir al-Mu'mineen was occupied and busy during all that time. But right after the martyrdom of Amir al-Mu'mineen, if we were to look at the historical accounts that how people, they are segregated and they are themselves, among themselves, they are fighting, because many of us, we are familiar with the situation, what happened in Siffin, and in the result, what happened in Naharawan. Imam al-Mujtaba had to face these similar challenges. So now we see that at one point that people already have left Amir al-Mu'mineen who were with him in Siffin and in Naharawan. They are becoming the opponents of Amir al-Mu'mineen. They are becoming Khawarij, many of them, and some of them, they are practically going against Amir al-Mu'mineen. Among them is Ibn Muljam, that he went against Imam Ali to an extent that he becomes the killer, and he kills Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib. So we know this situation, and afterwards Imam al-Mujtaba is having approximately 20,000 people. But the fitna of Khawarij was taken care of. So now this was the time for Ummah to support Imam al-Mujtaba against Banu Umayyah. So the ground was prepared. However, yesterday's Majlis, we spoke about when we talked about one of the titles of Bibi Zainab Aqila Bani Hashim. So I mentioned that one hadith that Imam is speaking about the aql, or intellect or intelligence. So the continuous hadith speaks about when someone asked our sixth Imam about the intelligence. Imam says there is another kind of intelligence which was evident in Banu Umayyah. How a cunning fox, a cleverness. So that is not the intelligence, that is cleverness, that how by using all means, good or bad, you defeat your opponent. So we saw that Banu Umayyah utilized all resources to defeat and to somehow to deceive the people who were with Imam al-Mujtaba. So we know that approximately 76,000 was the number of the army of Muawiyah, and 20,000 was the number of Imam al-Mujtaba, and it was a good number. But what happened that many of the people, their morale went down when they realized, because of the false news, and this way we see this day and age when we can understand fake news. So how the propaganda works, we see that all the media outlets, you cannot trust any media outlet, especially mainstream media outlet. They want to show you what they want to show, and they hide many things they don't want to show. So it goes back all the way to Banu Umayyah. So a mu'min needs to be very careful that whatever we hear from the mainstream media, we need to know that who's controlling that media. So we need to be careful. What is the other narrative? We should not act and we should not follow blindly on mainstream media, knowing that it is controlled by the powers who have their own interests. So very similarly, in the history we have seen that the media house of Banu Umayyah, they are spreading the rumors between the supporters of Imam al-Mujtaba that he is not willing to fight, and as he has already made a truce between himself and Muawiyah, and he's not going to fight. So many of them, they thought, oh, now if we fight, they will kill us. So they went back and they took their support back, and many of them, they were purchased. Their loyalties were bought by Muawiyah by the money. And we have seen that throughout the history, money plays a big role, unfortunately. So staying on Iman, it's very, very hard. We know that many times there are praise of shaitan, temptations, word and money and the position. We have seen that later in Karbala as well. And we see that Imam Sayyid al-Shuhada Abu Abdullah al-Hussein salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, when he speaks about the quality of the supporters and the companions he had, he explicitly mentions that neither his grandfather nor his father and neither his brother had those kinds of supporters and companions how he would have in Karbala. So if you have a bunch of the supporters who are loyal, number one, and who are having faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and their reliance is on Allah, and they are familiar with the hujjah of Allah. They know who is the Imam among them, and they steadfast. So no matter they need to give their life or not, because we know on the night of Ashura, on the eve of Ashura, Imam Sayyid al-Shuhada explained it to everyone that tomorrow all of you will die. And you have this choice. You have come all the way with me. Now, if you want to go back, I take this responsibility away from you to an extent that if you want, and if you are ashamed that tomorrow someone will call you coward, take one family member from my family and tell people that you presented your effort and you gave your life for me, and now you can go back. But we see that none of them, they left Imam Sayyid al-Shuhada alone. But it's the bitter fact of the history that Imam al-Mujtaba did not have that kind of companions with him. So we see even the closest people who used to call themselves the closest one, they were purchased by Banu Umayyah. And there is a big lesson for us as well, that many of the times we claim, it's easy to claim. We are also waiting for an Imam, and we also promise that our allegiance is for you. Even to an extent we say, Bi abi anta wa ummi. Oh my master, my father, my parents, and myself would be sacrificed on you. But brothers and sisters, when the time comes, we need to see that if we are steadfast or not. The actual time of the trial shows that who is actually the true companion of the Imam. So when we speak about the awaited savior, all of us, we are waiting for an Imam, and we say that, oh, our master, we are ready to serve you, and we are ready to be in your companionship. So we need to make ourselves stronger, and we need to make ourselves prepared for the time where our own desires would retract, would stop, and would forbid us from helping Imam, because helping Imam means going against your desires. So the money, the position, the wealth, all these things were based on the materialistic desires. And many people, they left Imam alone to follow their own desires. So if we really want to be the supporter of our Imam in this day and age, right now, we need to act upon the teachings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by denying some of the commands of our own nafs, which are taking ourselves towards the disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Salat is one example of that. So when the time of Salat comes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to pray on time. And if our nafs is saying, there is still some time. delayed. Yes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it optional for us that if we want to delay, but not for giving less importance to salat, not to be forgetful of salat. Yes, it's a choice that if we have something more important than salat. Otherwise, salat is the most important thing. When the time of salat comes, when the time of the prayer comes, that is the most important thing. Unless there is something which is inevitable, we cannot delay, then we can do that work and we can pray. Otherwise, salat is one manifestation 5 times a day telling us to show that we are obedient to Allah. And if we are obedient to Allah, then we will be obedient to our Imam as well. When Imam will ask us, we might be leaving our Xbox, our books, our football match, our Super Bowl. So we will be leaving everything and listening to Imam. So if today I am willing to put everything after Salat, that means inshallah I am a bit prepared for my Imam as well. So we have seen during the time of Imam al-Mujtaba, many people left him alone. So then in that situation, Imam al-Mujtaba did not have many choices except to make this peace treaty. So there are some other political examples as well, but in the interest of time, I will move very quickly towards some of the clauses of the peace treaty which Imam al-Mujtaba salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi made with Muawiyah. And again, as we just have completed the first portion of the season of grief by commemorating Arba'een, one thing we mentioned regarding Arba'een, that Arba'een is the announcement, one evident example of the announcement that Imam Sayyid al-Shuhada, Imam Hussein, was actually the one who won that battle. Why? One example is that Yazid, who killed Imam Sayyid al-Shuhada and his family members, and he took the women folk as captives. And now Yazid is so weak that Yazid is requesting and begging that I want to free you. And they are saying, Bibi Zainab comes and tells Sayyid al-Sajjad that tell Yazid that we have few conditions. That shows that who's the winner. Who puts these stipulations forward? A loser or a winner? A winner does that. So Arba'een tells us that if Bibi Zainab is saying that Sayyid al-Sajjad, go and tell Yazid that we have certain conditions. That shows that she's saying we are the winner. Very similarly, Imam al-Mujtaba, when this peace treaty is happening, you know what happened? Imam al-Mujtaba was given a black paper by Muawiyah that you write your stipulations. That shows us that who is stronger. That Yazid did not, Muawiyah, the father of Yazid, did not put this stipulation on the paper by saying that you need to accept these stipulations. No, he said that you put all the stipulation and I agree with all of those. Later, he did not fulfill any of those conditions, but this important treaty shows us that Imam al-Mujtaba in a way is announcing his victory by telling that I am exposing the face of Muawiyah. So yesterday I touched upon some of the political situations happening in Damascus. We need to know those things as well, but very quickly, I wanted to mention that this is the place where no one has the idea or the clue about the imamat and the family members of the Prophet. And this is happening in a place where many people, especially when we speak about Sham. Sham, when we say Sham, it's not today's Syria. It was a very big area. That includes today's Jordan, that includes today's, for instance, Lebanon, that includes today's Syria, that includes today's Palestine. So it was a huge area in which for many, many years, and now Banu Umayyah is ruling, and they have corrected, assassinated the Ahlul Bayt, and they have kept the family of the Prophet as the victim. So they would tell people that they have no place in Islam, and we are the family members of the Prophet. So Imam al-Mujtaba, by writing this peace treaty, so you see some of the clauses I would mention. First thing he says that now on Muawiyah would rule based on Quran and Sunnah of the Prophet. You know, what is the meaning of that? That Imam al-Mujtaba is saying until this day, he was not doing that. He was not running the government on the basis of Quran and on the basis of Sunnah. So that was one very important point, that the people of Sham should know that their ruler who claims himself to be a Muslim is not ruling according to Quran and Sunnah. Second thing, that Muawiyah will command and order, stop cursing on Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. Again, if that stipulation becomes a document, until this day and age, no historian can deny that Banu Umayyah was cursing Amirul Mu'minin. So it's not an ordinary thing. If you do not accept him as the caliph after the Prophet, Khalifa bila Fasl, as Shias they would do, but still you consider him fourth caliph. You consider him as your own Prophet's companion, then why you curse him? So this is second thing. Third thing, Imam al-Mujtaba has mentioned that if he dies, Muawiyah dies, he will not appoint his son after him. And he violated that condition as well. So these are three major things which are uncovering the face of Banu Umayyah and Muawiyah at that time, and which were very important to do because, as I mentioned yesterday as well, that he was disguising the actual hatred against the Prophet, the family of the Prophet, and Islam. So we know Banu Umayyah accepted Islam not out of their own will, because they accepted Islam when they saw their life as in threat. Now they will be killed because Fath Makkah is the time, if they do not accept Islam for their worldly goals, so they wanted to have the position because Islam is now prevailing, so they wanted to be Muslims so they can get the positions, and very similarly, they were scared of their death. They were scared of their life. So now with these three conditions and some other conditions, for instance, Imam says that you will not bother and you will not make the life of the followers of Amirul Mu'minin difficult anymore, and some of the money which belongs to the family of the Prophet and Baitul Mal, you will return some of the wealth to the family of the Prophet. He did not accept any of the stipulation of that peace treaty. But one thing which is very important to understand, that at least Imam Hasan al-Mujtaba uncovered the face of Banu Umayyah. And later, and you can appreciate that today, after many, many centuries, approximately 13 centuries, that still there are people who are saying, oh, it was not the fault of Yazid what happened in Karbala. And if Imam al-Mujtaba would not uncover the face of Banu Umayyah at that time, people would say, oh, it was just a difficulty, a situation between two people, Imam al-Mujtaba and Muawiyah. So they fought with each other, because necessarily if Imam would not make that truce, they would have fight. And they are in good number. Imam had not many companions, and Imam get martyrs. The history would say that nothing has happened. Muawiyah was one ruler, and they had a little, as they used to say sometime about the Safina as well, that Amirul Mu'minin had a problem with Muawiyah. So Imam al-Mujtaba actually unmasked the face of Muawiyah. So therefore, he is laying the foundation of what is going to happen in Karbala. And now everyone knows that Muawiyah had no legitimacy to appoint Yazid as his successor, because he accepted that in peace treaty. So brothers and sisters, these are a few dimensions of that peace treaty. Very quickly, I wanted to go over, especially for our youth, to know that the way people would depict, that people would say that he did not have that courage to fight against Muawiyah, so he accepted that truce. No, that was not the case. In fact, a lot of courage is required to safeguard Islam in that way. So this was one of the characteristics of Imam, that how he led Islam. But as I just have mentioned, that he lived a few years after that. This is year 41st after Hijrah. And Imam lived after that event for almost 9 years. And Imam's life before peace treaty is also there. There are many, many accounts, historical accounts, speaking about the bravery during the battles of Naharawan, Jamal, and Siffin. So those accounts are already there, speaking about the bravery of Imam. In fact, when the people did not want to support Amirul Mu'minin in Siffin, Imam Amirul Mu'minin sends Imam al-Mujtaba, and he goes and he encourages people with that bravery that people, they would come and support Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. So before this event and after that event, especially now, Imam is appointed, or Imam is introduced to people as the Imam of their time, because it is part of our belief that Imam is Imam all the times. But officially, Imam assumes the office of Imamat when the previous Imam martyrs. So Imam al-Mujtaba was Imam during the lifetime of his own father, but officially he gets the charge of that office after the martyrdom of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Therefore, now this time frame is also very important, from the day of the martyrdom of Amir al-Mu'mineen and until the day of his own martyrdom. So we see many interactions, many lessons during the life of Imam al-Mujtaba to train the Ummah, to guide the Ummah. Among them, there is one very important documented wasiyah, or an advice by Imam al-Mujtaba, which I would like to share with you, to tell you that how he was establishing that foundation to help people to know their responsibilities. So some of them become the supporters of Imam Sayyid al-Shuhada, and they know their own responsibilities. Because Hidayat, or the guidance of Ummah, is one of the responsibilities of the Prophet of Allah, and Imam being the vicegerent of the Prophet of Allah. Therefore, Imam fulfilled that mission as well. So now, when he is on his deathbed, so I am moving very fast forward all the way to the last final moments of his life, because he was attacked many times. Sometimes even Khawarij would come during the battles, they would stab him. Sometimes they would poison him. But now this time, when this poison is given, and inshallah we'll speak about that in Musibah as well, Imam is in a state where he knows that this is his final moments. He's on his deathbed. So the reason why I'm saying that now the words which are coming out of the mouth of an Imam, they are extremely important. Every single word of the Imam is very important. But if Imam says few words at this critical time, when he knows that he does not have much time, it says that he is giving us the gist of whatever he had in his heart. So inshallah, I would mention someone by the name of Junada, goes and visits Imam. And during those final moments, he says, when he looks at the face of Imam, that he was poisoned, and based on some narrations, he was in that state for many, many days, and he would throw up, and sometimes the blood clots would come out of his mouth, and the color was changed. He was so weak, and his companion, he comes, and first he cries by seeing Imam in that state. But these smart companions, they always want to learn something from Imam. So he says, دخلت على الحسن ibn Ali في مرضه. I entered Imam al-Hasan when he was mariz and sick, الذي توفي فيه, and the marad in which he passed away. And then he explains the situation that I saw that he was holding a tray, وبين يديه طشت يقذف فيه الدم. The blood was coming out of his mouth. ويخرج كبده قطعة قطعة, and his liver was coming out of his mouth due to من السم الذي أسقاه معاوية, due to that poison which he was given by Muawiyah. And he says, فقلت يا مولاي, I said, oh, our master, ما لك لا تعالج نفسك? Why don't you treat yourself? فقال يا عبد الله. Imam says, oh, servant of Allah, بماذا أعالج الموت? How can I deal with the death? How can I treat death? And then he says, قلت إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. So when he sees that Imam is in a state where there are not many chances for him to survive, he says, Mawla, إعذني. فقلت, I said, give me some advice at this point. يا ابن رسول الله. قال نعم. Look at the mercy of Imam. Even at that time, we become a little bit sick. We don't talk to people in a good way. Imam has this responsibility. Even in that state, He's inviting people to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's our responsibility, brothers and sisters, following the footsteps of our Imam, that Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahi anil Munkar. And whenever there is a discussion, whenever there is a chance, whenever there is an opportunity that we can advise and we can guide someone, we should take that opportunity. And look at the advice, Imam says. Qala na'am. Okay, if you require so, I will guide you. I will give you some words of wisdom. Ista'id li safarika wa hassil zadaka qabla hulul ajalik. Ista'id, be ready. Li safarik, for your journey. Wa hassil zadaka qabla hulul ajalik. How do you need to prepare yourself for that safar, for that journey? Before your death comes. He says that be ready for that journey which is ahead of you, which is going to begin after your death. And then says, wa'alam, no, annahu tatlubu dunya wal mautu yatlubuk. This is very important word. So these two phrases, Imam is summarizing the entire philosophy of life and death. He says that you all are in the state of travel. Do not think that this is your final abode when you have come to this world. Many of us, we feel that we are going to live here permanently. Imam says, no, it's a journey and your journey is moving on. And if you are a smart and wise person, get ready for your journey before your death comes in. All of us, we travel, especially in the United States, we love travel. So when we travel, we prepare ourselves weeks before that travel. We make sure that if it is like 3-4 hours, if we are going for camping or we are going for another kind of trip, going to see someone, we make sure, first of all, our car is good. And then we have enough gas the day we leave. We have Easy Pass, for instance, because it's inevitable to avoid toll roads. These days, no freeway at all. So we make sure that we go through quickly. We make sure that we have enough chips, enough tea, so our journey goes well. We have provisions. And at the same time, when we are thinking about the provisions for that journey, which will last for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 10 hours, whatever duration is, we are mindful of the preparation, what we would need when we'll arrive at the destination. So we prepared. So for instance, if we are going for skiing, for instance, not in this weather, but maybe 3-4 months later, we make sure that we have all gears. It's cold there. We have jackets, we have gloves, we have sufficient clothing, sufficient stuff to warm ourselves. So we plan for everything. If we are going to visit someone, we need to prepare that whatever we need at our destination, and we still know that destination is also a temporary destination. I'm going to live there for a day or 2 or 3. So I prepare many months in advance. I try to book the hotel, I try to find the deals, and I try to make sure that my stay at my destination is comfortable and my journey is comfortable. So this is human intellect. This is a human style of thinking. Imam knows the human intellect. Imam knows the human psychology. So he is giving this parable that consider when you have come to this world, you are heading to a journey. You are heading to your final abode. So think about your journey and think about your final destination. And you have a limited time. The time you are given is very limited. Your time is over when you die. And how much time do you have? No one knows. A day, 2 days, 10 days, 100 years? No one knows. A breath? No one knows. No one knows if that person is going to exhale what he has inhaled. To that extent, the time and the duration is ambiguous. So naturally, if we are not very much familiar with the end of our life, then we need to be more prepared. For instance, if you tell me that, Maulana, tomorrow, anytime we will hit the road, so I will make sure that right now everything is with me. My bag is next to me. So therefore, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kept the knowledge of the time of the death away from us, that we become mindful of our journey and we prepare for any moment. Therefore, Imam says, Ista'id li safarik. Get ready for your journey. وَحَسِّلْ زَادَكَ. قبل حلولك. Take your chips, take your coffee, take your ice cream, whatever you want. Take whatever provision you want to have in your journey. So if you do not have your phone with you, for instance, these days phone is more important than the chips and the cookies and the juices. Kids, they don't realize that they are not eating or drinking anything if they are in their phones and the games and in their social medias. So Imam is saying, whatever you need in your journey, prepare your journey yourself for that journey before you die. And then he says, he gives some heed that how would you prepare yourself? أنه تطلب الدنيا والموت يطلبك. That remember, you are thinking that you need worldly provisions to live in this world. You need education, at least 16, 18 years. You need to, for instance, have a big house and then a bigger house and then a mansion and then a car, a wonderful car, next year, next model, next year, next phone. So all of your life is revolving around this dunya. My clothing that needs to be updated, my phone needs to be updated, my car, my houses, my mansions, everything revolving in this world. Imam says, you are thinking about this world, but your death is thinking about you. You are forgetful. You are entirely oblivious to the fact that you are looking for something and someone is looking for you at every single moment. You know, that reminds me of that funny story during the time of Prophet Suleiman. You all might have heard about that story. Just let me remind you of that he is sitting and many people are sitting around him. And all of a sudden, someone comes to Prophet Suleiman and he's scared and he is having shortness of breath. He says, Ya Rasulullah, oh, the messenger of Allah, I'm scared of that person who is sitting in the corner and he's looking in a way that it makes me scared of that person. You have authority, you have power, so use your dominion and power and send me to the farthest place of this world. Prophet says, where do you want to go? He says, the farthest place. Prophet says, okay, your wish is granted. So this person goes to the farthest place from Prophet Suleiman's kingdom. And the moment that person lands there, he sees Malakul Maut is there to take his life. The same person. So, and later it was discovered that Malakul Maut was looking at this person with weird face, thinking that this person needed to be at the farthest lands right after this moment, and this person is sitting with Suleiman. So how would that happen? And this person, the angel of death, says that you yourself required from Prophet Suleiman to send you here. So everyone is chasing the death. Everyone is chased by the death. So then Imam said, the Imam Hasan al-Mujtaba salawatullahi wasalamu alayhi, moving very quickly, when he talks about the reality that you are chasing the world and your death is chasing you. Now, how to deal with this situation? He gives a formula. This can be one very important take-home message. If you forget everything, just remember this thing. وَلَا تَحْمِلْ هَمَّ يَوْمِكَ الَّذِي لَمْ يَأْتِ عَلَى يَوْمِكَ الَّذِي أَنْتَ فِيهِ. So Imam, let me paraphrase that before I literally translate it. Imam says that there are two kinds of days. The day in which you are living and the day which is ahead of you. So today or tomorrow. So Imam says the fear or the concern of the day which has not come to you yet should not overcome you, should not overtake you, overtake your day in which you are living. So be mindful of just today. Do not think about tomorrow. So your attention should be with your present moment. You need to be concerned. And don't take me wrong when I say this, because Imam Amirul Mu'mineen, father of Imam al-Mujtaba salawatullahi wasallam, speaks about the planning and the organization, but it is just to tell us that that is just a simple affair. It should not overtake. It should not occupy your thoughts. What would happen tomorrow? What would happen day after tomorrow? What would happen after 70 years? So we plan for decades. We do not plan for day, 2 days, 3 days, month, 2 months. So it's very good to be organized, but all these thoughts should not occupy ourselves. And we become paralyzed in this day in which we are living. We become, what happens? So I have sufficient amount of bank balance, for instance, but increasing in that, I'm not going to reveal that. So don't worry. I'm not going to show you my portfolio. So we have enough. We have enough provision. But what happens? We think about what would we have after 60 years? My 401k, how does that look? Have some peek on that. So we think about that after what is going to happen after 10 years, 15 years. What happens? We forget what is important today. So Imam says, plan for ahead, plan for your future, but that planning should not make you forgetful of your responsibility of today. So our priority is our responsibilities today, the family. First of all, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then his command is the family and my other religious responsibilities. So Imam says that, and after that he says, wa'alam. And then he says, no, annaka la taksibu. Remember that min al-mali shay'an fawqa qutik. Whatever you earn beyond your own need, this is also very important. Illa kunta fihi khazinan li ghayrik. That whatever you earn beyond your own needs, you are just a protector. You are just a guard on that wealth. You are moving on to other people. Whatever I need today, I will spend that. Whatever is remaining, I am holding it for others. Amirul Mu'mineen, in one of the sermons in Nahjul Balagha, when he speaks to the graves, he tells them that the houses, the mansions you built, you saved it for yourself. Now go and look, people are living in those mansions. We are not living. In other words, Imam al-Mujtaba is saying same things. The money you are accumulating and adding in, this will be consumed by other people. And sometimes it's not bad that you are leaving good wealth for your upcoming generations and they will use that. But be mindful, the same will of Imam al-Mujtaba, later he says that there is an accountability. If they consume it in a good way, then yes, you are getting some reward. But if they consume in a bad way, you are somehow responsible. And even if they consume in a good way, we have a hadith where Prophet of Islam is passing by an orchard or a garden. There are palm trees in there. And someone tells the Prophet that this person was very wealthy and he has given this entire garden and entire trees for Islam for you. This person has donated everything after the death. It was his bequest. And Prophet looks down and finds a rotten date. He picks that up. He says, if that person was donating this much of donation in his lifetime, that would be better than whatever he has given after his death. So it is very important that we give charity, we give donations during our lifetime. That shows that we are mindful, not only the charity, spending on all other halal things. Many times people, the worst people are who are stingy, they don't spend on themselves and they don't spend on others. It is a hadith. So very quickly, again, Imam says that وَعْلَمْ أَنَّ فِي حَلَالِهَا حِسَابٍ. This is one very famous hadith, so I will not explain that more. All of you might have heard that. That remember and know, whatever you earn in this world, فِي حَلَالِهَا حِسَابٍ. If it is earned through the permissible sources, there is accountability. وَحَرَامِهَا عِقَابٍ. And if you have earned this through the illegitimate sources, there is punishment. وَفِي شُبُهَاتِهَا عِتَابٍ. And the things which are doubtful and you are skeptical about those things, there is questioning in that. And then the last word which I would quote from this hadith, and inshallah, you can read this will of Imam al-Mujtaba later. It's a wonderful document. And he says, فَأَنزِلِ الدُّنْيَا بِمَنْزِلَةِ الْمَيْتَةِ. Consider this world as a dead animal. خُذْ مِنْهَا مَا يَكْفِيكَ فَإِنْ كَانَ ذَلِكَ حَلَالًا كُنْتَ قَدْ زَهِدْتَ فِيهَا. So he is giving an example. The similitude of this world is the similarity to a dead animal. So there is a fiqh ruling. For instance, if someone is dying and someone has nothing to eat, it's permissible to eat if a dead animal can be found, but to an extent where this person needs to survive. This person cannot have a wonderful meal of a haram animal or dead animal because now it has become haram. No. Imam says, whatever you need, whatever is the necessity. So he says that take from this world, deal with this world, and when you consume it for yourself, deal as you are dealing with a haram or the dead animal. Take whatever is the necessary, because if you take this, and then he says that, maybe you would think that how Imam is saying take the entire world as a dead animal, a maita, whereas there are many halal things. Imam is giving the reason. Imam says, be on safe side. If it turns out that it was halal and you have not consumed much, then you have safeguarded yourself. You are a zahid. Zahid is someone, when we fast, for instance, a mustahab, a recommended fast. We fast and we stay away from the things which are permissible to consume, from the food and the drink, voluntarily, by our own will. It's not obligation to do what? To increase in our piety. So Imam says, when you consume the pleasures and the leisures and the materialistic things of this world, and you will consume less as you are safeguarding yourself. You are separating yourself from them. And if you later turn out that those were haram, you are on safe side. So therefore we see his father, Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib, salawatullahi wa salamu, practically, and not only his father, there are many, many examples. Even the life of Imam al-Mujtaba is there. And we see, in fact, he is among the Imams who had a lot, but he gave everything, many, many times. People, they would come and they would ask, for instance, give me 80 dirhams, for instance, I need that. Imam says, go and pick up everything. Go and find whatever you have in my household. Imam, that is beyond my necessity. Imam would say, no, take it. So this is the actual generosity. One of the titles of Imam al-Mujtaba is Kareem Ahle Bayt. And we have the tradition of Sufra of Imam al-Mujtaba, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. That shows the generosity. And these are some of the etiquettes that our Imam is showing us, that how to live our lives. Always he would have guests at the home. Nowadays we don't have guests, many guests. We don't invite people. And that is due to sometimes we have made it difficult for ourselves just to have too many things. Now we have become so much formal, and formalities are there. We need to cook like 7-8 meals, and anyone who is coming has to bring many, many gifts. So formalities are there that no one invites the guests. No one goes to see other people. Imam al-Mujtaba, his sufra is there. Anyone coming, sitting, eating, going there. So we need to make the life easier by following the footsteps of Imam. This is Kareem Imam. And when we speak about the karamat and the generosity of Imam al-Mujtaba, look at his mercy on the animals. Someone goes and sees that Imam, he was sitting and eating, and someone saw that he's feeding a dog. And the person says, that animal is najis. And why you are feeding that person? Imam says that I cannot handle that. I am eating, and this creature of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is looking at me. I feel ashamed. So these are some etiquettes which we see from the lives of Ahlul Bayt, from Imam, that how humble, how kind, how generous they are. Let alone human beings, to the animals, to the other creatures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I was quoting the example of his father, Amir al-Mu'mineen. So when you look at the life of Amir al-Mu'mineen, how simple he would eat, to an extent that people, they would start following Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen. And this is the answer to the questions which could be in minds of many sitting here, especially the youth, that if that is the case, then we should live an ascetic life. We should leave the houses. We should leave our cars. We should go outside in the jungles. No, Islam is not that religion. One of the wonderful things about Islam is Islam says you can increase in your spirituality by living in this world. And Amir al-Mu'mineen is giving us the practical example that someone comes to Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says, people, they say that he has made everything of this world haram on him. And Amir al-Mu'mineen says, why you are doing that? He says, you are doing that too. He says, you cannot be Ali ibn Abi Talib. You cannot be like Ali ibn Abi Talib. Ali ibn Abi Talib, he needs to be mindful of someone who is at the lowest status in the society. I cannot have a full lunch or full meal or the lavish lunch or lavish meal until every single individual of Islamic State is having that lunch, or that meal. But for others, it's halal. Amirul Mu'minin gives us the example that deal with the sword as you deal with a snake. It's soft, it's fascinating when you touch it, but its venom is killing. Its poison is very dangerous. So deal with the sword, but do not get attached to this. This word should not keep your thoughts away from the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is the criteria. If you want to drive the best of the cars, drive the best of the cars. If you want to have the latest model of the phones, you can have it. But Imam al-Mujtaba says, fi halaliha hisab. You need to justify on the day of judgment. Number one, that you are not attached to that. Number one. And number two, you have fulfilled your responsibilities. Whatever your responsibility was, you have taken care of in terms of your wajibat, khums, zakat, your family members, your needy family members, people who are deprived in the society, they are the responsibilities and their share is given to the wealthy people. So we see that during the life of Imam Hasan al-Mujtaba salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi, that how he is giving those heeds and guidance and the lessons to the ummah. And as I just have mentioned, that was something which could not be tolerated by Banu Umayyah because they would see that people are attracted to Imam. And one more time, Imam would become a danger for Banu Umayyah. So what do they decide? They decided to kill Imam. And you know, this is the, again, musibah of Imam Hasan al-Mujtaba, that, you know, who you trust the most? You trust your family members. And this is another example of the mazlumiyat of our second Imam, that he was poisoned by who? By his own wife, who he could have trusted. Again, the greed, the word. Muawiyah sends this poison, which is said that when he got this poison from Roman Empire, the message which came along the poison, it was said that do not use it on your worst enemy. It was poisonous to an extent if a few drops of that poison would be poured inside a river or a water, all the fish and the sea creature would be killed. That kind of poison was sent to give to Imam al-Mujtaba. And it is said that Imam was fasting on that day. And on the time of Iftar, Imam asks for the water, and the pitcher in which that water was having, there was poison. As soon as Imam had that drink, Imam started throwing up. You know, brothers and sisters, Imam al-Mujtaba's musibah is very difficult to handle. Because if a person dies right away, the pain is less. But Imam had to go through that trouble and that pain, that he's throwing up his own body parts. And the entire family gets around the Imam al-Mujtaba. It is said that Imam al-Mujtaba at one stage is having a tray in front of him, and he's throwing up the blood, and Imam Hussein is standing next to him. A brother should not see that scene. We know that. No brother can handle a little bit of unease for the brother. And Imam Hussein, the younger brother, is looking at the face of the older brother who is throwing up the blood. And when Imam al-Mujtaba looks at the face of Imam Hussein, it says, "Oh, brother Hussein, why you are crying? Why you are shedding tears?" Imam Hussein says, "My brother, I cannot handle what's going through you." And Imam Hasan looks at Imam Hussein and says, "La yawmka yawmika ya Abba Hussein, it's difficult for you to see me in this state, but in my imagination, I am seeing that your head is being chopped. I am seeing your body is getting shot by the arrow. La yawmka yawmika ya Aba Abdullah. And in the same time, Imam al-Mujtaba realizes that women of the household are coming to the room, says, "Oh Hussein, please remove this tray from my side and do not put it in front of me. I don't want my sisters to look at my state." I would say, oh Imam al-Mujtaba, you are so mindful of your sister Zainab and Kulthum. But tomorrow, same sister will be standing on Talai Zainabiyya and would be looking at Hussein from the distance of 70 feet, where a shimru jalisad ala sadri Hussein. Shimr will be severing the head of Imam al-Hussein. عزیزو بس یہ وقت بڑا سخت ہے امام مجتبہ پہ. امام مجتبہ نے وصیتیں کرنا شروع کی. وصیتیں کر کر کے امام مجتبہ نے ایک دفعہ کہا, اب میرے بیٹے اس قاسم کو میرے پاس لانا. 3-4 سال کے بچے کو لایا گیا. امام حسن نے ایک تعویذ لکھ کے, ایک خط لکھ کے قاسم کی ماں کو کہا, اے ام فروا, دیکھو کہ جب کوئی بہت سخت وقت آئے نا تو اس وقت اس تعویذ کو کھول کے پڑھ لینا. عزیزو, عاشورہ کا وہ دن آیا جب بچہ بار بار جا کے چچا سے کہتا ہے, چچا مجھے جہاد کی اجازت دے. امام حسین کے سامنے وہی منظر آ جاتا ہے کہ میں بھیا حسن کے لختے جگر کو اجازت نہیں دے سکتا. جناب قاسم ایک دفعہ ماں کے پاس جاتے ہیں, مادر گرامی چچا حسین اجازت نہیں دیتے. ماں نے کہا, بیٹا قاسم, مجھے وہ وقت یاد آیا جب تمہارے بابا نے ایک خط دیا تھا کہ کوئی بھی مشکل آئے تو پڑھ لینا. جس کے بھائی حسین جیسے ہوں, جس کے چچا عباس جیسے ہوں, اس پہ کوئی مشکل وقت کب آتا, اس سے مشکل وقت کب ہو سکتا ہے. جناب قاسم وہ خط لے کر امام حسین کے پاس گئے. کوئی بھائی کو اس موقع پہ بھائی کی تحریر ایسی نہ دکھائے. عزیز امام حسین نے جناب حسن کا خط پڑھا, ایک دفعہ قاسم کو گلے سے لگایا. تاریخوں میں نہیں ملتا روز عاشورہ امام حسین کو غش آیا ہو, لیکن مقاتل نے لکھا بھتیجے کو گلے سے لپٹا کے امام حسین اتنا روئے کہ چچا بھتیجا غش کر گئے. اجرکم اللہ. عزیزوں, میں نے ذکر مصیبت تمام کیا, ایک منظر سنی اور زحمتوں کو تمام آپ نے گریہ کیا. اللہ ان اشبار آنکھوں پہ اپنی رحمتوں کا نزول کرے, سوائے غم محمد و آل محمد کے کوئی غم نہ دے. عزیزوں, جب امام حسن کو غسل و کفن دے دیا گیا نا تو مولا نے وصیت کی تھی کہ دیکھنا, مجھے جب دفنانا تو نانا کے پہلو میں دفن کرنا, لیکن اگر روکے تو نہ کوشش کرنا. عزیزو, ایک دفعہ جب جناب امام حسن کا جنازہ چلا ہے نا تو یہ کھڑی ہو گئی اور کہا کہ میں حسن کو دفن نہیں ہونے دوں گی. ایک طرف سے تیروں کا ایسا برسات آیا کہ جناب امام حسن کے تابوت میں تیر. میں ہاتھ جوڑ کے عرض کروں گا, مولا کیسی وفا کی, آپ کے تابوت میں تیر ہے اور امام حسن کا بدن تھا تیروں پر. وَسَيَعْلَمُ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا أَيَّ مُنقَلَبٍ يَنقَلِبُونَ عَلَىٰ لَعْنَةِ اللَّهِ عَلَى الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ. إِنَّا لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ. اللهم إنا نسألك وندعوك ونقسم عليك باسمك العظيم الأعظم العز ذا الجل الأكرم. تسمرتبا يا الله 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 يا رحمن يا رحيم یا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا علی دینک. بار الہ تجھے واسطہ محمد والے محمد کا ہمارے اس ذکر کو, ہمارے اس گریے کو اپنی بارگاہ میں قبول و منظور فرما. پر الہ اس ذکر کے صدقے میں بحق امام حسن بحق رسول اللہ ہم سب کے گناہان کبیرہ و صغیرہ کو معاف فرما۔ پر الہ تجھے واسطہ محمد و آل محمد کا جتنے مومنین مومنات یہاں پر تشریف لائے ہیں سب کی دلی تمناؤں کو حاجتوں کو قبول و منظور فرما۔ پر الہ تجھے واسطہ محمد و آل محمد کا ہمارے بچوں کو ہم سب کو سیرت محمد و آل محمد پر چلنے کی توفیق عطا فرما۔ بار الہ تجھے واسطہ محمد و آل محمد کا جتنے مومنین مومنات مریض ہیں سب کو شفا عاجل و کامل عطا فرما۔ جو بے اولاد ہیں اولاد عطا فرما، جو تنگ دست ہیں وسعت رزق عطا فرما۔ بار الہ ہمارے مولا و آقا امام زمانہ کے ظہور میں تعجیل فرما، ہم سب کو ان کے اوان و انصار میں سے شمار فرما۔ ربنا تقبل منا انك انت السميع العليم آمين يا رب العالمين برحمتك يا ارحم الراحمين۔
کان برس رہے ہیں تابوت پر حسن کے پیکان برس رہے ہیں تابوت پر حسن کے امت مٹا رہی ہے آثار پنجتن کے امت مٹا رہی ہے آثار پنجتن کے پیکان برس رہے ہیں تابوت پر حسن کے بابا کے دل کے ٹکڑے تو نے گنے بہتر بابا کے دل کے ٹکڑے تو نے گنے بہتر ٹکڑے ہزار ہوں گے قاسم تیرے بدن کے پیکان برس رہے ہیں تابوت پر حسن کے دو بار مل گیا ہے تم کو کفن مولا دو بار مل گیا ہے تم کو کفن مولا محتاج ہی رہیں گے شبیر تو کفن کے پیکان برس رہے ہیں تابوت پر حسن کے خبر حسن پہ اسی دم لرزا تھا ایک تاری خبر حسن پہ اسی دم لرزا تھا ایک تاری سادات نے دکھائے کچھ نیل جب رسن کے پیکان برس رہے ہیں تابوت پر حسن کے اور تابوت سے لپٹ کے قاسم پکار بابا تابوت سے لپٹ پٹی کے کاس میں پکارے بابا آنسو آنکھی کے دیکھو نوحہ سنو بہن کے پیغام برس رہے ہیں تابوت پر حسن کے امت مٹا رہی ہے آثار پنجتن کے یا حسن 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 بے خطا مارا گیا سبت رسول دوسرا وہ حسن سبز خبر بے خطا مارا گیا سبت رسول دوسرا وہ حسن سبز خبر زہر سے ٹکڑ جگر خون سے کفن لال ہوا وہ حسن سبز خبر بے خطا مارا گیا سبت رسول دوسرا وہ حسن سبز خبر بے خطا مارا گیا سبت رسول دوسرا وہ حسن سبز خبر زہر سے ٹکڑ جگر خون سے کفن لال ہوا وہ حسن سبز خبر بے خطا مارا گیا سبت رسول دوسرا وہ حسن سبز خبر جو گلتے ہوئے بھائی کو بہن نے دیکھا اور تڑپ کر یہ کہا اور تڑپ کر یہ کہا تیری غربت پہ بھائی تیری زینب پہ وہ حسن سبز خبر بے خطا مارا گیا سبت رسول دوسرا وہ حسن سبز خبر ماں کے دکھ سے ابھی آزاد کہاں تھی زینب ہو گیا کیسا غضب ہو گیا کیسا غضب زندہ نہ رہا بھائی سوئے خلد گیا وہ حسن سبز خبر بے خطا مارا گیا سبت رسول دوسرا وہ حسن سبز خبر کر دیا زہر حلال نے جگر کے ٹکڑے اور قاسم کے لیے اور قاسم کے لیے ہم سے نیلے ہے ہم شام غریباں جیسا وہ حسن سبز خبر بے خطا مارا گیا سبت رسول دوسرا وہ حسن سبز خبر گھر سے ایک بار جنازہ جو نکل جاتا ہے کب وہ پھر آتا ہے کب وہ پھر آتا ہے ایسا تابوت ہے لوٹ کے جو گھر آیا وہ حسن سبز خبر بے خطا مارا گیا سبت رسول دوسرا وہ حسن سبز خبر شہن اس وقت جو غازی کو نہ روکا ہوتا حشر ہو جاتا بپا حشر ہو جاتا بپا میرے آتے نہ جنازے پہ تمہارے مولا وہ حسن سبز خبر بے خطا مارا گیا سبت رسول دوسرا وہ حسن سبز خبر شیخ و ریحان برادری کا کرب و بلا جب سر کرب و بلا ٹکڑے قاسم کے اٹھاتے ہوئے مولا نے کہا وہ حسن سبز خدا بے خطا مار گیا صرف رسول رسول حسن سبز خدا زہر سے دکڑ جگر خون سے کفن لال ہوا وہ حسن سبز خبا یا حسن 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 نہ دیکھ سکے جبریل جسے فضا نے وہ منظر دیکھا ہے نہ دیکھ سکے جبریل جسے فضا نے وہ منظر دیکھا ہے نہ دیکھ سکے جبریل جسے فضا نے وہ منظر دیکھا ہے نہ دیکھ سکے جبریل جسے فضا نے وہ منظر دیکھا ہے زہرا کا لٹا کر دیکھا ہے زینب کا کھلا سر دیکھا ہے نہ دیکھ سکے جبریل جسے فضا نے وہ منظر دیکھا ہے نہ دیکھ سکے جبریل جسے فضا نے وہ منظر دیکھا ہے جس معصومہ کی شام سے ہے تعظیم پیغمبر کرتے تھے جس معصومہ کی شام سے ہے تعظیم پیغمبر کرتے تھے فضانے اسے ویرانوں میں روتے خوش پر دیکھا ہے نہ دیکھ سکے جبریل جسے فضا نے وہ منظر دیکھا ہے نہ دیکھ سکے جبریل جسے فضا نے وہ منظر دیکھا ہے عاشور کا سورج ڈوب گیا فضا نے کلیجہ تھام لیا عاشور کا سورج ڈوب گیا فضا نے کلیجہ تھام لیا تپتی ہوئی رہتی پر جسم نکلا شاید سر دیکھا ہے نہ دیکھ سکے جبریل جسے فضا نے وہ منظر دیکھا ہے نہ دیکھ سکے جبریل جسے فضا نے وہ منظر دیکھا ہے دیکھے سکینہ مقتل میں بابا کو ڈھونڈ پھرتی ہے بے چین سکینہ مقتل میں بابا کو ڈھونڈتی پھرتی ہے دکھ درد کی ماری فضا نے یہ خواب میں اکثر دیکھا ہے نہ دیکھ سکے جبریل جسے فضا نے وہ منظر دیکھا ہے نہ دیکھ سکے جبریل جسے فضا نے وہ منظر دیکھا ہے دربار عزیزی ہو وہ محب یا کرب بلا کا مقتل ہو دربار عزیزی ہو وہ محب کیا کرب بلا کا مقتل ہو تاریخ نہ بس ایک فضا کو ہر دم کی زد پر دیکھا ہے نہ دیکھ سکے جبریل جسے فضا نے وہ منظر دیکھا ہے نہ دیکھ سکے جبریل جسے فضا نے وہ منظر دیکھا ہے صحرا کا لٹا کر دیکھا ہے زینب کا کھلا سر دیکھا ہے یا حسن 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 کم نہ ہوگا کم نہ ہوگا یہ تو مظلوم کا ماتم ہے کم نہ ہوگا یہ تو مظلوم کا ماتم ہے کم نہ ہوگا یہ تو مظلوم کا ماتم ہے کم نہ ہوگا حسین یا حسین حسین یا حسین یہ تو مظلوم کا ماتم ہے کم نہ ہوگا یہ تو معصوم کا ماتم ہے کم نہ ہوگا ہر دل میں ہوگا ہر گھر میں ہوگا ہر دل میں ہوگا ہر گھر میں ہوگا دشت میں ہوگا گلزار میں ہوگا ہوگا مظلوم کا ماتم ہے کم نہ ہوگا یہ تو معصوم کا ماتم ہے کم نہ ہوگا حسین یا حسین حسین یا حسین لاش پہ شہ کے زینب کا وعدہ لاش پہ شہ کے زینب کا وعدہ دیکھے گی دنیا اب یہ نظارہ دیکھے گی دنیا اب یہ نظارہ اے میرے بھیا ماتم تمہارا اے میرے بھیا ماتم تمہارا شام کے خونی دربار میں ہوگا ہوگا مظلوم کا ماتم ہے کم نہ ہوگا یہ تو معصوم کا ماتم ہے کم نہ ہوگا حسین یا حسین حسین یا حسین ہاں ہم یہ تمہارا مولا بھولا نہ زمانہ ہر گھر سجا ہے یہ تمہارا ازخانہ ہم یہ تمہارا ازخانہ ہر گھر سجا ہے یہ تمہارا ازخانہ سو تمہارا جاری رہے گا سو تمہارا جاری رہے گا ماتم میں سارے سنسار میں ہوگا ہوگا مظلوم کا ماتم ہے کم نہ ہوگا یہ تو معصوم کا ماتم ہے کم نہ ہوگا حسین یا حسین حسین یا حسین ظہور مہدی جس روز ہوگا ظہور مہدی جس روز ہوگا منظر وہ کتنا پرسوز ہوگا منظر وہ کتنا پرسوز ہوگا ممبر پہ ہوگا وارث ہمارا ممبر پہ ہوگا وارث ہمارا ماتم پھر ان کی سرکار میں ہوگا ہوگا مظلوم کا ماتم ہے کم نہ ہوگا یہ تو معصوم کا ماتم ہے کم نہ ہوگا حسین یا حسین حسین یا حسین حسین یا حسین مولا حق امام یا حسن یا حسین مولا حق امام یا حسن یا حسین مولا حق امام یا حسن یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین وہ عابد بیمار تھا وہ عابد بیمار تھا جیسے جو لاچار تھا چلنے سے جو لاچار تھا اور شام کا بازار تھا اور شام کا بازار تھا اور مجتبیٰ کی بیٹیاں ہمارا حق امام یا حسن یا حسین ہمارا حق امام یا حسن یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین وہ عسکر شیر تھا وہ عسکر شیر تھا اور کربلا کا تیر تھا اور کربلا کا تیر تھا ننگا گلا کیوں کھچدا ننگا گلا کیوں کھچدا ہمارا حق امام یا حسن یا حسین ہمارا حق امام یا حسن یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین شبیر کی وہ لاڈلی شبیر کی وہ لاڈلی سینے پہ جو شہر بلی سینے پہ جو شہر بلی جس کی آواز من میں جلی جس کی آواز من میں جلی ہمارا حق امام یا حسن یا حسین ہمارا حق امام یا حسن یا حسین یا حسین یا
السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة النساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى وارث أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفراقك، عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر لحد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. السلام عليك يا أبا الفضل العباس بن أمير المؤمنين وقاسم بن الحسن ومسلم بن أخيل وهاني بن عروة وحبيب بن مظاهر وحر الشهيد الرياحي. السلام عليكم جميعا شهداء كربلاء ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليكم أئمة المسلمين علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي. السلام عليك يا صاحب العصر والزمان، الأمان 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 من فتنة الزمان وشر الشيطان. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن، السلام عليك يا مذهل الإيمان، السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن، السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجان. عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك وجعلنا من أنصارك وأوانك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة بن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آله في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا.
बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। ऐ रब जहां पंजतन पाक का सदका इस कौम का दामन गम शबीर से भर दे, बच्चों को अता कर अली असगर का तबस्सुम, बूढ़ों को हबीब इब्न मज़ाहिर की नजर दे, कम सिन को मिलाए वल वलाए आन मोहम्मद, हर एक जवान को अली अकबर का जिगर दे, माओ को सिका सानिया ज़हरा का सलीका, बहनों को सकीना की दुआओं का सर दे। मौला तुझे ज़ैनब की असीरी की कसम है, बेजुर्म असीरों को रिहाई की खबर दे, जो चादर ज़ैनब के दार मौला महफूज रहे से ख़वातीन के पर्दे, जो दीन के काम आए वलात अता कर, जो मजलिस शबीर की खातिर हो कर दे। मुफ्त फज़लाल और जवाहिर की बारिश मखरूज का हर कर्ज अदा गैब से कर दे। गम कोई ना दे हमको सिवाय गम शबीर, गम कोई ना दे हमको सिवाय गम शबीर, शबीर का गम बांट रहा है तो इधर दे। दुश्मनाने शबीर तेरे पीर फैला रहे